Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Get started in just a second. All right. Welcome, everybody. This is officially our first education session of Heartland 2021. This is the Ingram ipage Masterclass. My name is Larry Law. I'm one of the co-directors of Heartland. I'm joined today by Carrie Obrey and Kate Scott of the Midwest Independent Booksellers Association as well. They are our partners at Heartland. I'd like to mention very quickly, voting is open for the 2021 Heartland Booksellers Award. We had an awesome event an awesome Meet the Authors event, Meet the Finalists event in August. So please check out that video. It is live on the Heartland Full Forum website, as well as the voting ballot. And I'm going to throw that voting ballot into the chat momentarily. There we go. We are in full swing of Heartland right now, so I'm going to quickly go through a few events we have coming up. We have another education session this Friday. It is the Future of Sectioning, led by Johanna Parzakonis of BookBug, and this is a bookstore in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And then on Tuesday, September 14th, we have Marketing Lessons Gained from the Pandemic, led by Tim Smith of Schuler Books. And then on Wednesday, September 15th, please join us for an author event, Spinning a Midwestern Yarn, featuring authors Dane Barr, Kai Harris, Kelsey Ronan, Kyla Chenault, and Nicole Bart. I think I got everybody. Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong. Awesome. You can find more of our upcoming events on the Heartland Full Forum website. I'm going to also throw that link to all of our upcoming events into the chat right now. All right. And of course, I would like to thank our Heartland sponsors. This year, we are sponsored by Blackstone Publishing, Ingram Content Group, Andrews McNeil Publishing, Imagination Press Children's Books, Simon & Schuster, Penguin Random House, Scholastic, Macmillan Hachette, and our principal sponsor, HarperCollins. So thank you all for sponsoring this year's Heartland. Now I would like to jump right into the event, today's education session. I would like to introduce our educators for today. Please join me in welcoming Regional Sales Manager at Ingram, Nancy Rohlen, Field Sales Manager for IPS, PGW, and Two Rivers, Johanna Hynes, and Supervisor of Customer Care at Ingram, Eric Forrest. I will let you take it away.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here first and foremost, so thank you all for joining. Today we're going to demo iPage, and hopefully everyone here is at least a little familiar with the site, but even if you're not, that's okay. We'll kind of go through some stages here where we look at some beginner type information and then work our way through some more useful, slightly more advanced use cases for iPage. First and foremost, I want to make sure that you're at the correct website, ipage.ingramcontent.com. If you just type in iPage into your browser or ipage.com, you'll probably end up at the wrong site. So I want to make sure that we're at ipage.ingramcontent.com. Next, if you don't already have a login, you can always reach out here using the link that'll get to our customer service team, and they will help set you up with an iPage account if you don't already have one. If you have an iPage account and maybe you need to change some kind of master settings, for lack of a better term, maybe someone at your store has retired or is leaving and you need to hand the reins over to someone else, there's a special team at Ingram. They're called ICS-admin@ingramcontent.com. You can reach out to them and they can help with the administrative pieces of your iPage account. So without any further delay, I'll go ahead and log into the site. And to make this demonstration, more useful, I'm going to actually change my account. Right now, I'm looking at kind of my view, for lack of a better term. So bear with me just a moment while I get into a test account. This account will let me kind of show all the things that you would see as a customer of Ingram. So here I am at the login page of iPage. This homepage.
Eric, you need to screen share.
Oh, I am so sorry. I thought
that's okay.
Must have dropped from the introduction. Let's see here. I apologize. Okay. So here we are at ipage. So again, ipage.ingramcontent.com. So here on the homepage, you can jump right into a number of things. We have a black menu bar at the top where you can dive into some order history, maybe look at building out a cart to place an order, or you can start searching for product here on the search bar. So starting off with some kind of basic tips for iPage. When you're searching, you can kind of tailor your search based on the product you're looking for. I think most of us are probably looking for books, but you could open this search up to gift and game, to music, things like that. As a general rule, I recommend using title keyword as your search criteria. If you open this menu, you'll see there are numerous options, but I think title keyword tends to land with the most accurate results when you're searching, either through an author name, part of a title, something like that. If you're looking for something a little more broad, keyword is the way to go. Lastly, when you're searching, you can choose kind of which database, for lack of a better term, that you're looking at. I recommend Ingram Active, which will show you results for products that are basically front list. You're not going to see any out of print titles in these results. If you're looking for a more broad database or broader database, Ingram Extended will show you those backlisted titles that are out of print or no longer available through Ingram. And then if you're looking specifically for titles from IPS, Ingram Publisher Services, you choose that option as well. But for the purposes of today's demonstration, I'm going to keep it set to Ingram Active. Just as I guess a bit of a housekeeping note, I will try to kind of move through these sections very purposefully and stop at each one to ask if there are any questions. So don't feel like you have to hold those until the very end. So if there is a question, hopefully the moderators can help me keep track of those and call those out as they pop up. So here we go. Starting with this page, again, I mentioned the black bar, you can kind of get into some more advanced things like where's my order, where's my invoice, things like that. But let's go ahead and keep it simple and just type in, something simple to kind of demonstrate how to check for product, check for inventory. So I've typed in my keyword, and you can see I have, a large list of product to search through here. So depending on what what the context is, if I'm looking for a specific book, if I'm looking for a specific author or publisher, or maybe I'm looking for just a stack of books to, that have a general theme, I can do all of that refinement here within these results. I can start by searching within my results. So if I'm looking for a specific author, I can type that here. And it'll narrow my results down based on the criteria I've searched for. Okay, I'm going to go back and try it just to look through some different options here. So that was searching within my results for a specific author name. I could do the same for a publisher. Likewise, I can go through these different categories here to look at, maybe I'm looking for something in a specific BISAC category. Maybe I'm looking for something under a certain price point or a certain format. All of these things can be kind of drilled down within these results. So that's a basic search function. Now, if you're interested in finding out how much stock does Ingram have, how much inventory do we have on hand, you can always mouse over this little stock check window, and it will pop up telling you, first of all, like you'll see the blue boxes there are your kind of Ingram designated warehouses, your primary and your secondary. And remember, in the context of this search, this is a kind of a wholesale search. So if you're looking for something IPS related, we can look at that in just a moment. But as far as wholesale inventory is concerned, you'll see product that's on hand. This is actually what we physically have right now. And then on order is what Ingram has on order with the publisher. In some cases, you'll see a little calendar icon next to that number. So here I'm looking at an example with 80 copies on order from the publisher. That calendar icon means Ingram has some kind of ETA from the publisher. But there are other examples where we have stock on order and we don't have that calendar. That means we don't have an ETA. So here's an example that I'm looking at here where we have 60 copies on order with the publisher, but the publisher hasn't given us any kind of ETA. So I'll look at both examples here. So I'll click on this title to take me to the product detail page. And so here I can mouse over the cover to get a kind of an enlarged view. If you're trying to look for a specific cover or a specific, someone comes in and says, I don't know what book it is, but it's red, maybe this will help you get there. But in the case of on order, you can see that this title, we have 0 copies on hand in our Tennessee warehouse, copies on order with the publisher. This one, there's no ETA, there's no little calendar here for me to go by. So in these cases, we generally say 3 to 4 weeks is about what you can expect, roughly. I'm going to go back to my other results and look at that, another title that actually had that calendar. So here is another title. And if I mouse over this calendar, you'll see kind of our ETA. This is the ETA for the product to arrive at Ingram. And then of course, from there, we might take a day or two to check that title in, put it in active inventory, and then from there, start fulfilling orders. So that's kind of how our stock works when you're checking for inventory. Your iPage view may also show more warehouses than what I'm looking at. So right now, the account that I'm signed into is only looking at a primary and secondary, because these are the warehouses that I get free shipping from Ingram. If I wanted to see extended inventory, so other warehouses at Ingram, I can open up this little show more or show less menu to see our other warehouses, distribution centers. So for example, if both of my warehouses ran out and I truly needed more inventory, I can see that Oregon has 52 copies more here of this particular title, and I can order those and pay just a small shipping fee to get those to me. So any questions about finding inventory and checking the stock levels before I move on?
Eric, do you want to go ahead and show an example of an IPS title? Because I think that's something, or maybe that's part of your presentation here.
Sure, yeah, good call, thank you. I'm jumping back to the home screen. I have a little, I had a little window that took me straight to IPS products. So I'm going to go a different way. Let's see here. So on the home page, you can kind of customize these widgets or these little windows. I'm not going to go through that here, but if you're ever interested in doing that, just click on customize my home page, and you can kind of tailor these windows, move them around. You can move them and kind of organize your home page the way you like. But in this case, I'm just going to jump straight into this IPS menu, and I'm going to look at Ingram Publisher Services Publishers. I'm going to jump into one of the brands here, and I'm just going to click one just to get me to some titles to look at. So here's some Ingram Publisher Services titles. Now you notice straight away there's a little bit of a difference here in that next to the title you have a bold IPS indicator or kind of option here. This tells you that it's not wholesale, that there are special terms here if your account is so enabled at Ingram. Some of you may be wondering, I don't have an IPS menu on my iPage, and it's probably because currently your account is not yet set up for IPS ordering, and we can help you through that if you need. But all these titles can also be searched through your normal search bar kind of process there. So I'm just going to click on one of these titles to look at the inventory. And you can see our wholesale warehouses have inventory, but then if you scroll further down on the product detail page, you'll see kind of a IPS specific window. This little window here won't show up on titles that are not distributed by IPS. So the examples I looked at earlier didn't have this window. So I know this is an IPS title for a few reasons, because of the IPS indicator next to the title, and because on the product detail page, I can see this IPS specific window here. The reason this window exists is because iPage uses two separate carts, one for wholesale, one for IPS, and each cart has, I guess, the division specific terms, or however you want to phrase that, the business specific terms for each of those companies. So Ingram Wholesale discounts and returns are going to be slightly different than IPS. And so you want to make sure that if you're ordering an IPS product, you're ordering it from the IPS cart and not the wholesale cart to make sure you're getting a full use of those higher discounts and such. So in this case, I can see the publisher warehouse for this IPS title has, plenty of stock on hand, 0 copies on order. If I needed to add this title to my cart, I can simply change my quantity here and click add to IPS cart, and off we go. But before we get into the different cart mechanisms, how to place an order, any other questions about looking up product and checking out inventory? Okay. There are kind of 3 primary ways to place an order on iPage, depending on what you're trying to do. One you can see on this page is actually this banner right here, direct to home. So this is kind of our answer to direct ship to your customer on your behalf. So when that customer receives their carton of books, it's going to have a packing list with your store's name on it. It's going to appear as if it shipped from you and not necessarily from Ingram. And for nominal fees, of course, these direct to home orders are lifesavers, especially during the pandemic. We saw how valuable that asset really was to get product where it was going, right where it needed to be on time. So direct to home is an option you can do. Also, you have what's called a quick order, and that is a couple of places you can get there. One is here, a button above the stock window. You also have this cart icon. And then even a third way is through this orders menu, there's a link for quick order. So we've looked at direct to home, we've looked at quick order, which I'm going to get into in more detail next. And then the last one I just mentioned a moment ago is the IPS cart. And then I should also take a moment to mention lists, but we'll talk about that after we get through the cart demonstration. So I'm going to place an order, and I'm going to use a wholesale title just to kind of demonstrate this. And so I'm going to go back to my results here. All right, so other features on iPage that you might notice, some kind of different icons here. If you hold your mouse over each of these, it'll kind of pop up and tell you a little bit about what this means. Some titles even have this little preview option, and it's kind of like a peek inside the book feature for certain titles. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and add this title to my cart. I'm interested in buying this book, and I'm interested in adding, I don't know, let's say. So all I have to do is I'm going to go and copy this ISBN also for another demonstration. So I'm going to add this to my cart. Now, in this case, I already have the item in my cart, so I've got a little message here prompting me, did you know you've got this item in your cart already? Do you want to add more, disregard, things like that? In this case, I'm going to add the quantity to my cart as it stands today, or as it stands now. So I hit continue. I've got a green bar here that says, congrats, we've added this item to your cart. So let's view that cart. Okay. So here I am. I already had this copy or this book in my cart at 50 copies. And so adding the other 50 have made my quantity 100, but maybe I don't really want 100. Maybe I really just want 50, right? All I have to do is type over that quantity and hit update page here on the bottom right or top right, whichever way. And anytime you've done something successfully, you should get a green banner like this at the top. Okay, so I've added my one book at 50 copies, and you can see that reflected here in the top right corner. Total items in the cart is 1, total units is 50, and then a total retail value. Now, if I'm interested in knowing what my cost is, what my discounted cost is, you can see that my discount is REG, or regular. That's my regular wholesale discount. If I'm interested in knowing what that actually is, what my cost is, all I have to do is click this price, this cart button, and iPage will think about it for a second, and it'll update the view here with a kind of updated wholesale cost. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and place my order. I'm interested in placing this order for my store. So I'm going to hit standard order. And one of two things will happen when you click that standard order button. It's either going to prompt you for a password, or it's going to take you straight to the order details page. I have that password prompt disabled for my account. Yours may pop up and want to check your password just as a security setting. Know that if that happens and you don't want it, you can change your settings under my account, and it'll be under your iPage account settings. So you can disable that pop-up for that password. But if you do enter your password and that's something you want to keep, it should only prompt you, I think, once a day, to make sure that you're supposed to be where you are, right? You're not some customer poking around in iPage and doing something you're not supposed to. Okay, so here I am with my order details page. And so here, I'm wanting to place this order to ship to my store from Ingram. The first couple of things I need to look at are here in these order details. So first off, order method. This tells Ingram how you want the order to behave. Do you want Ingram to ship that order as soon as they possibly can? Are you placing this order now, but you want to combine it with a future order later and try to make one big order to help with freight costs, things like that? And what I'm looking at here is something called immediate release with separate invoices. So maybe I've got multiple POs, but I want each PO to invoice separately and not together. So all that stuff can be changed here in this order method screen. All you have to do is hit change. When you hit change, you'll have a drop-down menu with some kind of preset options. Or in the case of what I'm showing you, if you have a code, an order method or order type code, you can click other and type your code in the box here and hit save. And if it's a valid code, it'll pop up here and tell you what those what that method does. But here I'm going to keep it simple, stick to. An immediate release, of course, is telling Ingram ship this order as soon as you can. It will still combine with other orders if there are combinable orders out there. but otherwise it'll ship on its own, this PO. Next up, I want to verify my ship to account is correct. One thing that this cart view does not do is show you the address, right? So your ship to account number is linked to an address on Ingram's records. There's a way to see that address under your My Accounts. And if you guys want to look at that later, we can. But here, I'm just going to assume that I know the address tied to this ship to account, and I'm going to trust that that's the right address that I want this order to ship to. Next up, shipping instructions for wholesale customers, and I believe IPS customers too. If you want your order to be eligible for free freight, you need to leave your shipping instructions to your default Ingram shipping instructions, just like I have it here. If you're interested in expediting your order, let's say for an author event or something like that, all you have to do is hit change, find the correct option or the option that suits your needs here in the menu. So let's say UPS next day air. It is going to prompt you changing that option, that shipping instruction may affect your free freight. So acknowledge that and hit save. So now my order is updated. Next, the warehouse that I'm shopping from. Earlier, when I checked this inventory, I know that it's in stock, so I can proceed. But if you're not sure, you can change this warehouse menu option from DC pairs, which is going to shop your primary first, then your secondary for any leftover product. And this is kind of explained here in this little mouse over message here. But if you choose to shop from a specific warehouse, you can. So you can shop only from your primary, only from your secondary, or from an alternate warehouse. And again, free freight may be negated if you choose one of those alternate warehouses. So in this case, I'm going to leave that as it is. And then for back orders, each account with Ingram has a default back order setting. It's either yes or no. And so back ordering means Ingram doesn't have this on hand, but you want to back order it, and we'll fill that order in the order that it was placed. If you choose not to back order, then we won't keep your order open. That PO, any copies that are unfulfilled when you submit this order will be canceled. So in this case, I'm going to use it, my account default, but if I don't know what that is, or if I really want to specify yes or no, I can do that here. If I choose to back order, all I have to do is say yes. Then I need to tell Ingram what to do with that back order when the inventory comes in from the publisher. You want Ingram to hold that back ordered item to combine with a future order and possibly, bulk up an order to help for free freight, or do you want us to release it as soon as we can? So in this case, I want it to ship as soon as possible. And then you're also going to tell us how long do you want to keep this back order open? In this case, it's today plus 14 days. I could specify other amounts here. So in this case, I'm just going to say yes, back order it, release it, and keep my back order open for today plus 14 days. All right. And I have a PO number here. Next, I have, if I have a promo code, which sometimes if you check your email, you might get one of those. And then I don't have a need for an attention on my shipping label. No attention line is needed. And to place this order, all I have to do is click place order. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm not going to, actually, let me see here. Because if I do this, I'm going to place a live order. There's not a way to test this. So I might as well just keep it simple here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and place this order. Make a note for myself to make sure that this thing doesn't ship. Right, so I'm going to hit place order. One thing it's going to ask me to do, ipage has what's called an order profile, and it's basically an attempt to shortcut your ordering process. So if you're placing the same kind of order all day and you don't want to have to tinker with settings, you can save this to your order profile. Or if this is a one-off kind of purchase order, you can say no thanks. But in any case, once I do something with the order, ipage thinks about it for a minute, and then it comes up with an order confirmation page. The order has been confirmed, and it captures kind of all the settings for the order that you can reference later. So when I click away from this confirmation, I can still get back to this confirmation page later to see, did I really place that order on time or on the right date? Did I really place it with the right shipping instructions? All those things. So it captures the settings for this purchase order. It tells me what the product is shipping from, and it tells me, how many I ordered, how many are actually going to ship, how many are back ordered. It gives me my discount, and then here at the bottom, it kind of gives me a summary. And so my extended list price, that's going to be my cost minus my discount. So that confirmation also is emailed to you in case you're wondering about that. Whatever email addresses tied to your iPage user accounts, that email address will have a confirmation emailed to it. So that was a kind of a walkthrough of placing an order through the carts for a wholesale order. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. The process to place an IPS order is very similar. Just remember that it's a separate cart. And so earlier I showed you that this cart icon here is for placing a wholesale order. To get to an IPS cart, you actually need to either do it from the product page, which if I go back to that ammo title, just type in ammo here.
Or the drop down there at the top.
Yeah, on the menu. So
Yeah,
there's,
that's a quick way to do it.
Yep. So you can do it either from the product page and add items to your IPS cart here and then view or edit your cart from this link. Or as was mentioned, you can go to your orders menu and under this IPS section, you've got a separate cart.
And where it says IPS too.
And where it says IPS. Yep. So
Yeah, that's the quick way.
That's the quick way. Okay, gotcha.
Can we just walk through? I just want to, because there's been so many changes in the last couple months, can you just put a title in there? And I just want to point out a couple things when we get to the order page.
Interesting. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and add this Gerard coloring book here. So I'm going to add that to my IPS carts.
Yeah.
Yep, and I've got a link here to view my cart, so I'll do that. And so here we are.
So just as a point of reference, at the moment, the stock availability is disabled here. It doesn't work for IPS. That will just show the, oh, they did add it. So there's a, see where it says Tennessee primary, that's going to be
the wholesale warehouse.
That's good. Oh, right. So
Yeah.
Jackson isn't on here. So you
Jackson's
can't
not on
use
there
that
yet.
feature
Yep.
for IPS here. But when you go, and then if you want to go back to the order,
Here.
and you go to order it,
Okay, so
and you want to put 10 copies in there just so it's
page and click order to.
yeah.
All right.
So the one thing just to point out to people, if you're using this for Jackson Central, where there's order method here and it says immediate or combine, you actually never want to use combine with Jackson because we're seeing that there are coding problems with this. So you always want to just leave it as immediate release. And with Jackson Central, the way that it differentiates from wholesale is that 99% of the accounts are set up that it's going to hold orders until 10 units are met, and then it's going to ship. So if you have 8 copies in here and then 2 front list orders, 2 copies of a front list book, it's going to combine those for your 10 and it'll ship out. So you don't ever want to mess with the order method here in the order page. And then the other piece I wanted to point out, obviously the warehouse, you're just going to use the default because it's going to come out of Jackson. And if the one difference here is that you'll see that there's the little, this is an order for an event. And so if it is an event, this is very important. If you click that, that's going to elevate the order at Jackson, and it's going to kind of go on a different cascade because it'll be recognized as an event order and it'll ship out quicker. And obviously we're having some issues at the moment with a backup in the warehouse. So this is very important if you have an event order. And in fact, I would say that if you do have an event order for IPS in this moment in time, I would make sure that goes to your rep as opposed to trying to do it through ipage.
Johanna, can I point one thing out real quick?
Please.
Okay, so sorry.
Oh, Ruth. Hi, Ruth.
Hi, sorry. If you could go back one screen, I just want to show you where you can actually check the stock.
Oh, yeah.
And that's that right little, so right below the quantity, and there's like a little icon here at the
Oh, down.
right by down by the ISBN, there's that quantity. If you scroll over that, that shows you the warehouse grid, and it also shows you the publisher warehouse, which is the IPS warehouse. And also right on that screen there is where if, let's say, this title was in the Indie Vault, that would show, that information would show up there. And if you wanted to look at a title just to see what that looks like.
Sure.
I'm just thinking really quick, what's a title that I have in the vault? Let's say Permafrost, I think. It's a and other stories title. I believe I have stock in the vault there. So, and it's right there too.
And I have a feeling this is a function of the test account that I'm using is not enabled for the vaults.
Oh, okay.
But if you'll bear with me just a moment, I can find one that is.
And Kate asked the question, how does free freight work when ordering print-on-demand titles from IPS? It works the same way. So it will consider it in stock, and so those will ship out. And I hope that answers the question, Kate.
I apologize. I'm kind of taking a detour here. Again, the test account I was using doesn't allow or doesn't show default titles. So I'm going to flip it over to an account for Bill, just so you can see what that looks like. So here's the permafrost title that was mentioned. If you scroll down here in the IPS window, you see a little vault icon next to the on hand. And if you mouse over that, you'll see how many copies we have in the vault of this title. Does that help?
Thank you, Eric,
Yeah.
very much.
Okay, I'm going to flip back over to my test account here. Okay, and so in the IPS cart that we were in a moment ago, so thanks for your help also for showing the different stock information in the vault. The checkout process is much the same. You know, we pointed out that it is important for you to indicate if the order is for an event, and possibly considering giving that order to your rep instead of placing it through ipage, just for the management of that order flowing through the warehouse correctly and on time, those kinds of things. But the checkout process is much the same if you do decide to do it yourself. So if I uncheck this event box, I can still choose my order method, my shipping instructions, just like I did with the wholesale order. But IPS orders, of course, we treat those a little bit differently. I think for obvious reasons with the Jackson Central program. Any questions about using this quick order, whether as a wholesale or an IPS order, before we move on? Is there a desire to check out the direct to home process or banner that I showed a moment earlier? Replacing direct to home orders. If you're interested in placing a direct home order, I'll say this. One thing we did was we went, and I'm just going to go here to a title page just to show you. You can start a direct home order through this banner on the product page itself, or if you add this item to your cart and go to your cart to check out, you can do a direct to home order from here as well. So I'm going to click standard order, and on my order method screen, I can choose direct to home here, hit save. And my screen changes to accommodate all the different new options that I have. So I still want to, tell the order how to behave, to ship immediately, to back order, what's my PO number and things like that. But I can also enter my customer's information for the delivery of this order. And if they have a PO number for their own housekeeping or bookkeeping, you can enter that here. And then of course, choose your shipping instructions. So that's just a super quick rundown of placing a direct home order. Going into the direct home order through the banner takes you to the same page. So it's all the same information, just a different way to get there. Okay, the last kind of ordering piece I wanted to show you, and this is just a brief overview, is a list. So a list is kind of like if you're, I don't know, I think of it more as long-term memory, whereas a cart is more short-term memory. If you noticed earlier when I placed my order for my cart, my cart was empty, right? And so I'll just show you what that looks like. I'll delete update page. When you place an order, your cart is emptied out like this. There's nothing there. And so from here, you can start building your cart either through pasting ISBNs here. You can upload a file or paste, you know, if you have maybe an email full of ISBNs, you can paste those ISBNs here. Or if you have like a text file or a spreadsheet, you can upload them here on iPage. But for a list, you can order this list as many times as you like. The list won't go anywhere until you choose to delete it. So that's kind of how I equate it to long-term versus short-term memory. But a list is good for maybe you're curating a sale or a collection of books and you're not quite ready to place that order. So you don't necessarily want to put them in your cart and tie up that cart for other orders, right? So you would build a list here, you know, create your list here off to the side. Let's see, create a new list right here. Give this list a name. There's different functions here that I won't go into too much detail, but same thing, you can paste some ISBNs here or upload a file, what have you. Once this list is created, you can start adding titles on the product page, and I'll show you what that looks like. So if my list is created and I go into a product page, if I scroll down, here is my selection list options. And so if I want to add this to a list, I don't necessarily have to copy and paste the ISBN. I can just choose my list, add a little note if I want to. So if maybe someone on your staff or a couple of people on your staff are building this this curated list, they can write notes to keep track and whatever. But anyways, add this to your list. And that's another way to populate your list. But once your list is ready, of course, let me jump back to the list page here. You can see, you know, again, quickly see how many items are in this list, total units. Once you're ready to place this order and click standard order, it takes me to the same order details page we've already looked at. So it's a very familiar process. It's just a different way to kind of build out a list of titles you're wanting to order. So obviously, as we get prepared for the fast approaching fourth quarter, maybe now is a time to explore this function of iPage and start building out different lists. And again, that was just kind of a quick overview. There's much more to say about it, but I think once you get in there and try to build a few lists, you'll kind of quickly see its benefit. Is there any questions about carts or lists or anything like that? And I think what I'll do next is kind of show you, I've already placed an order. Now, how do I kind of manage those orders and see what's shipped, where are my invoices and that kind of thing. Okay, so I've placed my order. It's been a day or two and I'm ready to receive that order or maybe check on its status, maybe see if it's shipped. So to do that, I will go to my orders menu here at the top of the page. And again, it depends on, was my purchase order wholesale or IPS? So just to demo a wholesale order, I'm going to look at order status. So again, that was orders menu, order status. And here on the order status is where I'll see kind of all my open items. If I have maybe a lot of back ordered items or items that are processing, this test account doesn't have any, but you would see those here. And then we've got some kind of easy links here for you to access kind of some of the most important, you know, pieces of using iPage, and that's where's my order. So for example, if I wanted to look at back ordered items, there's a link for that. This account doesn't have any, but they would appear here if there were. And I'll show you what this looks like under another account in just a moment. Recently shipped orders is another useful link. Here's iPage thinking about what has shipped on my account recently. By default, iPage is going to load the last 2 weeks for 14 days of information. This account doesn't have any recent shipments, but I can ask iPage to fetch even more data. So it's going to think about it just a little longer, and it'll bring back 90 days worth of information. And so here are orders that have shipped, the date they shipped. I can email myself a packing slip if I want to know what was in that carton. I can also grab a tracking number and either take this to a carrier's website. Like in this case, I know this is a USPS tracking number. These are UPS tracking numbers. If they're blue, of course, and highlighted like that, you can click them. It'll take you to the carrier site, and from there you can track that shipment. Let's go back to iPage here. So this is recently shipped orders. If I happen to know what the Ingram order number is, that OE number, order entry number, I would want to type it in the format you see it here. So the first letter is the warehouse that it shipped from, and then the next 5 numbers are the order number. So for example, if I'm interested in this order, hit search, it'll take me straight to it. Right. So if you have a lot of orders in your history and you're not trying to sort through those just by site. If you happen to know what that order is, you can type it in here. Likewise, there is, and that's by Ingram order number. That was recently shipped orders. If I happen to prefer to search by PO number, which I assigned when I placed the order, if that's more, that's more beneficial for you, you can do that. So click on recently shipped by PO. And again, I'm going to open up my result to the last 90 days. And not only is it going to show me the Ingram OE number, it's now going to show my PO number. So that's, maybe a bit easier for you to search. If you're interested in searching for a specific ISBN, how could you do that? Well, it's a good question. I'll show you. Here on the order status page, if you go all the way over here to order status search, you can kind of tailor your search to whatever you want. So first of all, on the left-hand side, you can tell your search to search for all items or orders with a certain status. In this case, I'm going to keep it set to all. And I want to search for a product code. So I'll type in a specific ISBN. If I wanted to drill down even further, I could choose an order date range, or if I'm just interested in orders I placed in a date range, I can do that here too. But in this case, I'm just going to look for an ISBN, hit submit, and my results are going to show me every order that contain that ISBN. So here's all my POs, here's all the Ingram order numbers, invoice numbers, and what have you. So it's a really handy way to quickly find an order that you're looking for. Earlier, when I placed my order and I landed on that confirmation page, I mentioned that those confirmations are emailed to you, but what if you want to go back and look at that confirmation again? You can do that here with iPage order history. So click on iPage order history and you're going to see all of your orders. If you click the confirmation, so here's the one that I did today. If I click on confirmation, it'll take me back to the page we looked at earlier, and I can see all the settings to include a date and timestamp, shipping instructions, warehouse code, all that stuff. What I ordered, how many, just basically everything on that confirmation. So again, that was orders, order status, and then iPage order history. In the case of your direct-to-home orders, those have a separate confirmation. So you've got the main confirmation and then a direct-to-home summary. And this summary will show you all of the criteria that you put in for that direct-to-home or direct-to-consumer shipment. So everything from their address, phone number, PO number, all these things. I'll jump back to the order status page. There's a couple other options here like unacceptable returns and open invoices. But I wanted to pause here to ask if there are any specific questions about checking your order status. Okay, so again, this is looking at wholesale orders. If I open up this orders menu and go under this IPS section, there's a separate order status link. So this is where I'll check my IPS orders. Now under this demo account, I don't think I have any recently shipped IPS orders. I'll check just to be sure. And I don't. So I'm going to flip it over to another account real quick. Bear with me.
And while you're doing that, Eric, just in the chat, somebody had asked if you don't have a rep, what to do about an event order for IPS. And you can send those to ips@ingramcontent.com. So IPS events at ingramcontent.com. But if you do have a rep, just send it to the rep.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to look at order status for this account. And as I mentioned earlier, my test account didn't have a lot of open orders. Here's an account that has quite a few. And so at a glance, you can see orders that are open, waiting to be fulfilled by Ingram, to include the date that order was opened, how many units are still open from that order. So at a quick glance, but if I'm interested in looking at maybe back-ordered items in particular, I can click on back-ordered items and see all of these items that are back-ordered for my account. You can see that they're listed newest first, so kind of reverse order. You can see the back-order cancel date, which is a column or a row, or rather a column that you can kind of filter through. So if I'm interested in seeing which of my back orders are going to cancel soonest, I can click that column to sort my list here and see which items are going to cancel here pretty soon. There are cases, if you're wondering why are there still back orders from 2020, there are cases that a back order would stay open beyond the PO's cancellation date. Primarily that's because the title itself hasn't been received from the publisher. It's still kind of in that new, not yet received type status. So as long as that's the case, we'll keep that back order open. But once we start receiving that inventory, then we start the clock on your back order.
Yeah, so in IPS, these are all front list orders.
Yes, yeah. So looking at order status here for IPS, I don't see, yep, there we go. Back ordered items. Links are kind of different here on this page. But the same results come up here. So I can see my back order titles. So these are titles that are still in print, but we just don't have the stock on hand right now. And so this is a scenario where you should see, you know, in most cases, you should see on order with the publisher. They're admittedly, publishers are scrambling to fulfill open orders. And I'm sure that's a result of the pandemic and the kind of current business climate we're in. But in any case, you could see your back orders here and have a general idea of when to expect those if there's stock on order from the publisher. So in the course of, you know, placing orders and tracking them and trying to figure out where certain POs or certain items are, hopefully this has been helpful as far as your orders and your order status. Any questions about this before I move on to the kind of accounting side of this? Let's look over to my main test account here. So I've received my order. I've checked it in. I've given the books to my customer, or where they're supposed to be in my store. Now I need to pay an invoice, or I need to review an invoice that I've already paid, something like that. All of your accounting information is going to be found under My Accounts, and you can see there's tons of options in here. We're not going to have time to cover all these today, but feel free to click around those and see what you can do. But in the case of your payment information, that's going to be over here on the right-hand side under Financial Information. So that's My Account and Financial Information. And you can look at all of your accounting items here on this all accounts. What did it say? All accounts, all open accounting items is what I clicked on. You can jump straight to your open invoices, which are yet to be paid. You can look at closed invoices, which have been paid. And likewise for credit memos, open and closed credit memos. There's other options here too, of course. Here in this case, my test account doesn't have any open invoices, so I can look at some closed invoices just to show you. And so here, my invoices are kind of you know, oldest to newest. I can see if I have multiple ship to accounts, which account it belongs to, the PO number that I assigned that order. Here is the Ingram reference number. That is the invoice number itself. We'll look at that. So if I just click on one of these guys, notice that it pops up a new tab here, and hopefully my screen share is capturing this. But one thing that iPage likes is it likes to have access to your pop-ups. So if you have issues with iPage, make sure your pop-up blocker is disabled, or that iPage is whitelisted. That'll make your iPage experience much better. But here is an Ingram invoice, and so you can see kind of all of the key information that you would need. It's everything from the Ingram order number, the invoice number and invoice date, the ship to address, the billing address. In this case, this is a direct to home order, so I can see who my customer was, and then a breakdown of what was ordered, and a tracking number is here at the bottom. So it's a pretty straightforward invoice, but it's just a quick reference for you, and an easy way to get to your invoices without having to email someone and say, hey, can you see me that? Well, here it is. You can go get it. Likewise, you can go to like the order status, you can search for something specific. So if you're looking for a specific PO number or invoice number, you can search through different criteria on this page. So that was here on the right-hand side under Advanced Account Info Search. And if I'm say, for example, I'm looking for a PO, and if I have it set to open invoices and it doesn't find anything, try looking at closed invoices. Maybe you'll find it there. So a quick way to kind of find your invoice information, your payment information, and that's kind of the life cycle of you know, finding inventory on iPage, placing an order, tracking that order, and then paying for that order in a nutshell. So I'll open it up to kind of any general questions you all might have. If there's anything in particular that you want to go over, we can do that here too.
Anybody that has a question, please feel free to unmute at this point and just ask your question. Oh, looks like you covered everything.
Okay, fantastic. That rarely happens.
Eric,
right, I
what's
guess-
the best way for people to reach out to you when they're in the trenches and they can't find something? Is it you or is it a general line?
Well, that's a good question. So if it's something related to what you've seen here today, you can reach out to me directly, Eric, ERIC.Forrest, FORREST, at ingramcontent.com. But if you're in the trenches and it's just your day-to-day business operations, I would recommend reaching out to our customer service teams. So we have different emails and different phone numbers for those teams, and bear with me just a second and I'll get those for you. If I can get this browser to cooperate with me. I'm going to stop sharing actually, if that's okay. There we go. Let me get to these phone numbers here. All right, so our customer service hotline is 800-937-8200. If you prefer email, it's customerservice@ingramcontent.com. And that would be for kind of your wholesale questions. And if you're looking for something IPS specific, I think IPS@ingramcontent.com is kind of the good general email landing spot for you. And then if you're calling IPS, I think, let's see, we have so many IPS brands, and so I want to make sure I'm giving the right contact info here. Let's see. Joanna, you don't happen to have that IPS hotline, the general one, do you?
The general one should be,
Is it the 866-400-5351?
yes.
That's the one.
That's it.
Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
so IPS is 866-400-5351.
And just somebody was direct messaging me here about customer service and the length of the wait times at the moment. We are having some staffing issues. So if you can email a rep, please do that. If you can't, you can always send it to ips@ingramcontent.com. You can always email me, johanna.hynes@ingram.com.
And for wholesale, you can email me, nancy.rohlen@ingramcontent.com. And again, the IPS number is 866-400-5351.
Thanks, Nancy. And thanks, Kate. And I should say too, I know that Nancy, you guys have all special going now through Q4. If you're ordering through IPS cart, you will be getting plus 30 days dating. And then we also, starting today, we have a +3 that runs through the end of November. So +3 on your orders.
And
Sorry, the code for the IPS +3 is TY21.
Thanks.
And on the wholesale side, we have 2 promotions. This month, we have our Banned Books Week promotion, which will give you an extra 3% on titles on the Banned Books Week title list. And that runs through the end of the month. And then starting on October 12th, we'll have our regional holiday catalog special. So all of the titles and all of the regional holiday catalogs will get an extra 3%. And there's no code needed for that. So anytime you place an order, you'll automatically get the 3%.
And and thanks, Kate, for putting that TY21 in the chat for IPS. And the extra dating, you don't need, there is no code for that. Those are automatically given the extra dating for anything running through IPS through the end of October. So.
Great. Well, thank you, Johanna. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Eric. Anything else before we close it out?
There was one more
Okay.
question about when specifically the catalog promo begins.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
thank you.
just put it in the chat. It starts on October 12th and runs through December 10th. So just flip the dates.
Great. Cool.
Makes it easy.
Awesome. Again, thank you, Johanna. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Eric. This event was recorded. It'll be available later this week on the Heartland website. And also quickly to mention, please join us this Friday for another education session, same time. It is the Future of Sectioning with Johanna Parzakonis from BookBug, and this is a bookstore. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.